Come to Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence for retirees looking for an ideal rental setting to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We offer bright 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, wellness and entertainment programs, all with a friendly community spirit on beautiful grounds. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel.
This closed church in Adams now has a new life as a parish-run charity center, feeding and clothing those in need. I'll have that story.
I'm Steve Kiltonic here at St. Mary's School in Lee. I'll have the story of a teacher who has made it her life mission to honor and remember veterans.
And Catholics mark the beginning of the Lenten season. These stories and more are just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel to Reel. Parishioners of St. Pope John Paul II Parish in Adams put their faith into action, feeding the hungry and clothing those in need. For nearly 10 years now, an army of volunteers has staffed this unique charity center, serving hundreds of families every month in the Northern Berkshires. This great Christian effort has not gone unnoticed as the St. John Paul II Charity Center has now joined the ministries supported by the annual Catholic Appeal. Kathy Harrington introduces us now to their work.
Anybody is welcome. If you live in Adams, Cheshire, Savoy, and you need help, you're more than welcome to come to the Charity Center.
Meet Larry Claremont, the director of the St. John Paul II Charity Center. For nearly 10 years, parishioners of the St. John Paul II Parish in Adams have followed their namesake, putting their faith into action, helping those in need through their charity center.
This lady moved into town from Florida, and she was a social worker in Florida, and she was involved with food pantries in Florida, and she started to talk to Father Boyle at the time about starting a food pantry here.
The question was, where will the food pantry be? The answer came with the closing of St. Thomas Aquinas Church. Merging with Notre Dame Church next door, Father Daniel Boyle suggested the hall in the basement of St. Thomas could be used.
I was in the choir with one of the lady that was starting the food pantry, and she asked me to help to organize it.
In the beginning, parishioners were asked to donate food to fill the shelves.
And some of them would donate money, give us money, and so with that, we put things together. About 3 months or 4 months after we opened the food pantry, we got involved with the food bank.
About a year later, an envelope was added to the monthly packet to better organize contributions.
The parishioners since then have been outstanding. We get usually over $1,000 a month from the parishioners to support our pantry.
When the charity center opened, donated clothing was also offered. One of the parishioners collected clothes for all ages, shoes, and baby items.
We had a lot of clothes. We didn't have the racks. We had tables. We would lay the clothes out on tables. And we had the pantry, which used to be an office. So we put the food in there, and slowly it developed to what it is today.
As time passed, the volunteers acquired display racks and shelving, transforming the former church hall into a department store where food pantry customers could shop without charge.
I believe it's very important. You're helping people every week who need food, clothing.
There's a waiting list of people wanting to volunteer. Many of those working at the charity center have been there since the beginning.
Well, I'm retired, and they started it, and about a month after they started, I decided to come down and see what it was all about, and I liked what I saw, and I've been here now. We're into the 9th year. I feel like you're doing something for the community. There's a lot of people out there that are in worse shape than we are, so they need help.
It's a need that has to be fulfilled.
Brenda Robinson is another parishioner who has volunteered at the center since it opened.
It's very important that not that I do, but that everyone does in general. I just, sign people in. I believe it is extremely important for our community, for the communities of Cheshire, Savoy, and Adams, all three communities. I believe we fill a need that sometimes goes unnoticed.
The primary mission of the Charity Center is to reduce hunger in the communities it serves. And it wasn't long before the business community stepped forward with offers to help.
There is financial support from Adams Community Bank. The nearby Walmart offers a discount on diapers and wipes. The local Big Y supermarket donates day-old bakery goods. In addition, the U.S. Postal Service letter carrier food drive fills the shelves, as do food collections at Hoosick Valley High School and St. Stanislaus Kostka School.
At St. Mary's Church in Cheshire, they collect food for us and deliver it. The Methodist Church in Cheshire, it's a very small church, but their parishioners collect food and they deliver it once a month to us. The Episcopal Church in North Adams, financially, every year they give us a pretty large donation.
As the only food pantry around, the Charity Center finds its customer base is growing. The elderly, who may have outlived their savings, young people working minimum wage jobs that barely pay the rent, professionals who find themselves unemployed.
I think it was based on Christ's teaching, but St. John Paul basically led us this way.
And in the wake of a saint, sometimes the unexplained happens. Larry tells of the cold, rainy evening last fall when they ran out of peas.
So they told the ladies to cross it off on our list. All of a sudden this girl and guy come walking in who looked like they could have been clients. They came and they said, "Do you accept donations here?" And we said, "Yes, we'll accept." And they said, "Well, we got some food." And they said, "Oh yeah, you can bring it in, we'll take it." So they went out and they came back and they had 3 cases of peas. 3 cases of peas, and they gave it to us and said, "We hope you can use this."
With faith, the help of the community, and now a grant from the annual Catholic Appeal, the shelves of the St. John Paul II Charity Center will never remain empty. I'm Kathy Harrington for Reel to Reel.
And among the volunteers working at the Charity Center is a special needs class from the nearby Hoosick Valley High School. Students come once a month to help sort cans to prepare the food for the pantry. And remember, ministries like the St. John Paul II Center depend on your generosity to the 2019 Annual Catholic Appeal. The outreach funded by the Annual Catholic Appeal, which includes this weekly program, along with the Chalice of Salvation televised liturgy, touches the lives of many throughout Western Massachusetts. If you've already donated, then thank you. If you haven't, then why not take a moment to make your 2019 donation? You can do so securely at diospringfield.org. That's diospringfield.org, and thank you in advance. And still to come on Reel to Reel, Steve Kiltonick will introduce us to Polly Crosby and her mission to honor veterans. This story and more, all still to come on Reel to Reel.
The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Pastor's Brother Terrence Scanlon, your Chalice host, inviting you to take time out of your busy days and join us Sunday morning. We welcome Father Michael Toohey and a delegation from the Holyoke St. Patrick's Parade as we celebrate the first Sunday of Lent. The Chalice of Salvation, your spiritual connection, Sunday morning at 10, right here on 22 News, WWLP, and coming up next on Fox 23, WXXA.
Come to Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence for retirees looking for an ideal rental setting to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We offer bright 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, wellness, and entertainment programs, all with a friendly community spirit on beautiful grounds. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
Pope Francis Pratt, Our Legacy Reimagined.
How far out on the water are we willing to walk for our faith? These are turbulent times in the Catholic Church, and many faithful have questions. The struggle to remain true to Catholicism is real. Some answers to your questions may be found in this year's Lenten Speaker Series at Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament Church in Westfield. Founded in Faith, Why I Am Catholic seeks to deliver an important message.
We felt that it would be a good thing to try to perhaps help people recall why they are who they are as Catholics.
The parish Christmas CD gift, The Number One Reason I Love Being Catholic by Dr. Alan Hunt, reminded us that as Catholics we believe the bread and wine become the real body and blood of Christ during the sacrifice in the sacrament of the Eucharist. Our Catholic faith is clearly defined in the creed we recite at Mass, but are we founded in faith? The speakers this Lent will share how their Catholic faith shaped their lives and formed their careers.
We have speakers from the field of law, business, broadcasting, Catholic education, various fields, and all of them will answer that question of why they are Catholic, why they love their Catholic faith.
First up on March 13th, journalist Ray Herschel, the Dean of Television News in Western Massachusetts, recently retired after 50 years as a reporter and anchor. Covering politics, the military, tornado aftermath, and the Catholic Church, Ray's assignments also included a journey to the Holy Land and the Vatican, as well as the clergy abuse crisis. Ray and his wife Maureen raised their family in the Catholic Church. Hear how his foundation in faith remained firm through the challenges of his job.
The real nature of the church is to believe what we read, teach what we believe, and put into practice what we teach.
On March 20th, Father Warren Savage returns to Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament with some of the relevant teachings and practices from the treasury of our Catholic tradition. You'll hear how the tenets of our faith will help you understand and respond to the signs of the times. Father Savage has a reminder for those already baptized into the Church about what it means to be an authentic disciple of Christ. On March 27th, State Appeals Court Judge Edward McDonough will speak. Spending more than 3 decades as trial attorney in civil and criminal law, working in the firm that has represented the Diocese of Springfield, he's now an associate justice on the State Appeals Court. McDonough says our faith overlaps with the justice system and our path to redemption. God is watching us. You'll know our 4th speaker by his music. For more than 4 decades, Dan Kane has discovered and developed singing talent in Western Massachusetts with the Dan Kane Singers. On April 3rd, Dan will talk about how his faith is expressed through music, touching and exciting the souls of all who hear. Mark Tolosky and his wife Noreen DePerry Tolosky will speak on April 10th. Strong in their faith, Mark served as CEO and president of Bay State Health, overseeing unprecedented growth at the hospital, leaving so well regarded that a building is named in his honor. Noreen DePerry Tolosky, a nurse and now author, writes faith-based articles. The couple has 2 successful grown sons, their foundation in the Catholic faith guiding them to share with others. Deacon Dewey Lee is nearing his June ordination to the priesthood. It's a vocation that he says started at home.
The church kind of nourished it, but it's really from the examples of my family and the people around me that really helped me to keep the faith.
Train the young in the way they should go. Even when old, they will not swerve from it. The proverb is how Dan and Megan Balarjan are raising their family of 8.
My wife is the oldest of 10, and I'm from a small family. When we met, we really dedicated our life and our work to advancing the faith, right? Because to us, it made so much sense. It was what drew us together.
On April 17th, the first lay superintendent of Catholic schools for the Diocese of Springfield and his wife will talk about raising a family in the Catholic faith. The Wednesday speaker series is open to the public and free of charge. It gets underway on March 13th at 6:30. For Real to Real, I'm Nick Morganelli.
And we have a list of many parish Lenten events taking place across our diocese. You can find that at diospringfield.org. There are currently 77 active permanent deacons in the Diocese of Springfield and 6 men who are scheduled to be ordained in the diaconate this May. The program continues to grow here in the Diocese of Springfield. Joining me now is Deacon Roger Carrier of the Diaconate Office to tell us about 2 upcoming informational sessions. Hello, Deacon Roger. Thanks for being with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So the Permanent Diaconate program continues to thrive here in the Diocese of Springfield, and one that takes, I believe, 4 years of study and preparation. I understand you will be holding 2 informational sessions for men who might have questions or be interested in becoming a permanent deacon?
That's correct. Basically, these sessions are designed to help men understand what the diaconate is all about and then what the formation process is all about, and give them some information on which they can continue to discern what God is calling them to do with their lives.
And what do you think is it that draws somebody to this ministry? Like, what drew you to it?
Well, generally what happens is the people that are drawn to the ministry typically are thinking that they could be doing more for God's people, more for God's church, more in their spiritual life. And the nature of the diaconate is all about service. The whole ministry is to align ourselves with the servant mysteries of Christ. So basically, the people that have a heart for service, have a heart of compassion and mercy for others, are the type of men that typically are drawn to this ministry.
All right, Deacon Roger Carrier, thanks so much. And if you would like to attend the information sessions on March 16th and 23rd, we have all of the details at iobserve.org. One veteran called her the most pro-veteran woman I have ever met. Out in the Berkshires, Polly Crosby has been quietly on a mission to honor all men and women who serve with a veterans program that is now 2 decades in the running. Steve Kiltonick visited St. Mary's School in Lee last November and spoke with this 8th grade teacher and others about why she is such a devoted veterans advocate.
For each of the past 22 years, St. Mary's School in Lee has held a Veterans Day program. It has grown to become one of the most popular Veterans Day events in Western Mass. The founder and inspiration behind the patriotic display is 8th grade teacher Polly Crosby. Her dedication and devotion to veterans stems from her own family's history during wartime. It all started with Crosby's father, John Negrini, who served with the U.S. Army Air Corps aboard a B-17 Flying Fortress during World War II.
And he had a flag folded in the house, and he had his medals not displayed, but in a quiet little place. And he was just always talking about his love for America and how proud he was to serve. And his brothers served in the Korean War, and his other brothers served in Vietnam War. So I've always been immersed in the military culture and love for country.
Negrini's 388th Bomber Group flew regular missions over Germany targeting Nazi war industries. It was hazardous duty. Tens of thousands of airmen perished in the skies over Europe. Negrini's position was the most vulnerable on the plane, that of the ball turret gunner, who sat exposed to enemy fire outside the plane. Each B-17 had a 10-man crew, consisting of the pilot, a co-pilot, navigator, radio operator, and bombardier. 5 gunners protected the bomber from Nazi fighters. the tail gunner, 2 waist gunners on the left and right side, the top turret gunner, and underneath, the ball turret gunner. Negrini volunteered to be the ball turret gunner after a crewmate backed out. His height was over the required limit, so he had to cram into the small space to operate the guns.
He was so tall, actually, that when he got into the turret, he had to have his parachute not on him, but he held it between his knees. And he really relied upon his training manual to be able to identify planes by the wing shape coming at him to tell if they were friend or foe.
The bomber crew went through a roller coaster ride of emotions before and after each mission. Negrini had a couple of close calls. Once he and a crewmate volunteered to release the bombs manually when they got stuck.
And they had the bomb doors open, and I was flabbergasted at this tiny little space that he had to walk upon with the wind sucking, trying to suck you down below. If the bombs jiggled on an air pocket, the chances are that he and his buddy would be out with them. And it was such a dangerous mission. To think that he had been through something like that just, again, constantly amazed me and cemented in me this respect for anybody who serves in the military.
Negrini miraculously made it safely through 35 missions as detailed in his mission report. After he retired, Crosby was left with his service books, photos, and records. She was set to write her father's autobiography, but his war experience was too traumatic to talk about.
He said, "Here, Pollyanna, you take them and you put all the dates together and figure out what it is. I can't talk about it."
From her dad, Crosby learned about the unspoken bond between veterans.
This sense of brotherhood is so incredibly strong. And I not only see it with my dad, I become friends with veterans because we've been doing this program for over 20 years. And they all have it. They all have this undying sense of brotherhood.
Crosby's husband, Frederick, served in Vietnam with a Seabees unit. And her nephew fought in Iraq, a helicopter gunner. Her family's wartime experience imprinted in Polly a deep respect for vets. Polly started the Veterans Program as a tribute to honor her father, but has become much more.
The very first year that I did it, I had so many Vietnam veterans come up to me and say thank you. We have never been publicly thanked before. I have just learned to value every single veteran and every single active man and woman on duty and what they face.
On the Wall of Heroes are the names and photos of veterans from all wars. Each year during the Veterans Program, Crosby has a corner section here reserved for her own family members. There's her father, her husband, nieces and nephews, as well as those in her classroom who also went into the service. Crosby also displayed memorabilia from her father, including his uniform, scrapbook, patches, awards, and even a B-52 replica. Each year, Crosby orchestrates the entire Veterans Program, selecting the songs, guiding the teachers, and rehearsing the skits. Crosby selects a different program theme each year, although she admits after 2 decades, it's getting tougher to come up with new material. Previous themes include honoring states through songs. A few years back it was They Are Our Heroes. Another year the theme was Welcome Home.
They have given us so many gifts that we don't even think about, things that we just take for granted. You know, like we said, going around singing a song or going for a ride. Everything we do, we owe to them. The second part had to be where the gifts come from. You veterans, you're the greatest gift America has to offer.
Each grade performed its own skit. There were patriotic songs.
Navy, anchors away, my boys, anchors away.
Classic Christmas songs.
I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. Only hippopotamus will do.
And the reciting of patriotic poems.
And to got a bed in New Orleans with Packingham and Jackson tugging at its seams. And it almost fell at the Alamo.
The 8th grade boys did something a little bit different.
That was their choosing the cup routine to show synchronization and how much you depend on each other. You have to look out for each other all the time.
I can't even say enough about her dedication and her passion for our country to be able to put this together. And it means so much to her, and I think that's why the show comes out the way it does every year, because you can tell what dedication she has to it.
Joe Kay, a Marine vet, served in Japan and China after World War II. He watched 3 of his grandchildren on stage.
It is great, really great, yeah.
What is it about that you like the most?
Well, I like the kids doing their thing and keeping up the patriotic and knowing that where they come from.
Dave Simmons served in Vietnam with the Army's 1st Cavalry.
But when I returned from Vietnam, there was a totally different reception. There was some rejection. I think not just for Vietnam veterans, but for all veterans, Polly is teaching the younger folks to respect them. And, we appreciate her work doing that.
Jim Curtin is an Army vet of the Cold War. He's been coming to the program since his grandkids were in kindergarten. They're both out of college now.
I can't thank them enough, and also the teachers. What a great job they do to keep them little kids in line, and they do such a wonderful job.
Because of her unwavering support over the years for vets, VFW Post 893 and other VFW officials nominated Crosby for State Teacher of the Year in 2017.
We realized how pro-veteran she is, and she's still the most pro-veteran lady I've ever met in my life. And we decided to honor her that way.
Crosby was named the 2017 State Middle School Teacher of the Year in Education by the Department of Massachusetts Veterans of Foreign Wars.
We all went to the convention to watch her get her award, and it was very touching, yeah, for us.
It allowed Crosby to share with her mother Polly one last time the military that her husband belonged to. She passed shortly after the ceremony.
It brought my dad back to life for me. Everything that he taught me, every time he brought me to a Memorial Day parade, every time he walked me to church, that award brought my dad back for a while.
As Crosby approaches a milestone, 40 years teaching at the school, she says the show will go on even after she retires.
We are so blessed to have her here with us. We tell her she can retire, but she can't stop doing the Veterans Day program.
It's something I can't let go. It's my blood.
Each year, the Veterans Program concludes with all of the students saluting and reciting a poem. It's an honor to serve you. The 8th grade class of 1997 wrote it the year it all began.
It's what the school is. Faith, family, country. It's what we are.
St. Mary's owes a debt of gratitude to Polly Crosby, who helped ingrain in its students an appreciation and a respect for veterans, and kept it alive for over 2 decades. For Reel to Reel, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
As she gets closer to a well-deserved retirement, veterans have no fear. Polly Crosby has no plans to pass on the torch just yet. The Veterans Program will be hers to continue with, of course, the full support of the school's principal. And we definitely salute Polly Crosby for her remarkable service to veterans throughout Western Massachusetts. And Bishop Brzezinski invites all in the Catholic community to take part in a day of prayer for healing and reconciliation for the ills caused by the clergy abuse crisis. This Monday, March 11th, all churches in the diocese will be open throughout the day to allow folks to stop by and offer a short private prayer. Some parishes will offer special services. Lend your voice in prayer for all the victims of abuse this Monday, March 11th. And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. Remember, you can find updates anytime as well as information and news on the Catholic Church at iobserve.org. And we'll see you next week at this same time for another edition of Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.